We have such a restricted view of ourselves and of our lives and of the world. There's just this, whatever we can't see doesn't exist, is irrelevant. There's so much more. So let's have a little story. You know, a previous Rebbe had a great talent for writing, and from his diary, which he allowed to publish sections of it, we get a glimpse into the childhood of a Rebbe, because he started keeping the diary, writing the diary, from the time he was 9 years old. And what does a 9-year-old write about? What happened when he was 7 or 6 or 5? So we get a glimpse into how the Rebbe grew up, how his parents raised him, what Hasidus was like at that time. It's really a wonderful inside view of a special time and a special life. So one of the stories that the Rebbe records in his diary is that when he was in Cheder, a little boy, his teacher would end the day of study with a story. It was like a reward for having studied well. He would tell him stories from the Gemara, stories from the Torah, stories from previous generation Hasidim. And the Rebbe, as a little boy, had this talent, this gift, where he could visualize the story in graphic detail. He would put himself into that scene and then write about it beautifully. Description of every detail, and brought it to life. You hear the Rebbe tell a story and you think you were there. So he would come home after hearing a story, and he would go into his grandfather's room. When his grandfather passed away, the Rebbe Marash, the room that he had used as his study and as his Yechidus room was left intact. It was never changed. It wasn't used, but it also was not, the furniture was not moved or changed. So it was convenient for the Rebbe as a little boy to go into his grandfather's room that nobody used. It was quiet. There was a large stuffed chair. He would climb into the chair and close his eyes and picture the story that the teacher had told him that day. One time when he did this, he was picturing the story that the teacher had told him about Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi, the compiler of the Mishnah. When he came to heaven, he was granted whichever reward he would choose. And he chose to be allowed to come back to earth every Friday night to make Kiddush for his family. And he was granted that wish. And every Friday night, he would come to his home and make Kiddush for his family. So the Rebbe is sitting there. He's a little boy, 6 years old or whatever, and he's picturing how the neshama, Friday night, makes this long journey from heaven to earth, comes to his neighborhood, to his shtetl. He looks into the window, and the Shabbos table is set. Candles are lit. The challah, the Kiddush wine, and then he comes in and he says Good Shabbos to everyone, and he picks up the cup and he makes Kiddush. And he's visualizing this. The soul coming to make Kiddush, of course, it would have to take on a body in order to fulfill the mitzvah. As he's thinking this, he hears a sound in the room. He opens his eyes and he sees his father, the Rebbe Rashab, is standing on the far side of the desk, his grandfather's desk. He's facing the chair. He's wearing his gartel. He's saying something and he's crying. So he thought that he really shouldn't be in the room at that moment. And so he quietly left the room without disturbing his father. So here he is, picturing how way back in ancient times, the soul would come back to make Kiddush for his family. And he opens his eyes, and his Zayda, his grandfather, is in his chair, available to guide and advise his son, who was the Rebbe at the time. And this is not ancient times. This is relatively recent. And the Rebbe's reaction is, I shouldn't be in the room right now, it's private. And he walks out. It's not like, oh my God, my grandfather is here from heaven and my father is talking to him. Yeah, of course. When you need your Zaidi comes. What an amazing, enlightened life. We have such a restricted view of ourselves and of our lives and of the world. There's just this, whatever we can't see doesn't exist, is irrelevant. There's so much more. And of course, we know there is so much more because anybody you ask will tell you that the amount of knowledge that human beings have is just a tiny drop in the bucket compared to what there is to know. And yet, they won't go beyond what they see and hear. The Torah takes us way beyond into the rest of reality. It's not an unreal world. It's the other side of reality. There's the physical reality, the tangible. There's the intangible. And there's the godly. And it wouldn't be right to say that the godly is as real, because it's much more real. The godly reality is the origin of the physical reality. So it existed first, it existed forever, and the physical reality is only a tiny expression, like the last layer of reality. And that's why when Mashiach comes, that reality will become the more familiar one. As the Rambam says, that in the days of Mashiach, our devotion, our pursuit will be to get to know God. And the physical, the material, will be so available and so abundant that it won't even be interesting. In other words, the godly will be more real, more substantive, more substantial than the physical. The physical, yeah, if you have what to eat, of course, fine, great. That's not reality. Reality is getting to know God. This is the message we need to raise our children with. We have plenty of material goods. It's not reality. It's the outer coating of reality, which is good. We need a coating. But look at what reality really is. Getting to know God. The knowledge of God will fill the earth like water fills the ocean. That will be a world that God can enjoy. So we should all do what we can to make that happen, so that when Mashiach comes and God is rejoicing with his creation, we will know that we had some input, that we contributed. We were part of the action. We made it happen. And when you complete something that took 5,779 years, and you put in the last piece, even though it's only one piece, it's only 1 year out of 5,779 years, but the final year is the most exciting, next to the first year. The first year and the final year. The beginning is always exciting and difficult and challenging, but in a very good way. And the final year, you get the benefits of all the years before that preceded. And the satisfaction, knowing that not only did I do my part, I did the ending. I finished. I put the finishing touches. The crowning glory. So this last generation before the coming of Mashiach, we have an opportunity to do something so magnificent. Not only to contribute, but to conclude this vast eternal plan. And the Rebbe, being so generous, was worried, concerned, and consumed by the desire to make sure that everyone gets that benefit, that ability to say, I did the finishing touches. So we should have an enjoyable preparation for Pesach. I know that doesn't sound realistic, but it can be done. It can be done with pleasure. Every project of cleaning the house, of preparing the house, every step of it, every minute of it is a blessing, as you clean your kitchen and you clean your house, you are cleansing the world. And if that don't bring Mashiach, if that don't elevate the world and purify the world, getting rid of the generic chametz, the world's chametz, which is the arrogance and the insensitivity and that chametz represents. If we can get rid of it one more time, this Pesach, cleanse the world of its puffed up self-importance, and get back to the simple matzah. We're just part of a big plan. No reason to get swell-headed and just enjoy doing our share. The world can be so beautiful.
If you enjoyed this conversation or this topic, and you're looking for more information, or you want to hear it again from another angle, there's a way to do that. And that is in this book. It's all there. Order it from Amazon. You can read it, reread it, and share it.
I want to invite you
to join us as VIPs, partners in our work, and join us also for a personal chat with other members of the VIP club. We talk about many things. There's an opportunity to ask, to respond, to make a comment, to meet the other supporters. And together we can really make a difference in Jewish life and in life in general. So join us. It's goodtoknow.org. Log in, call, make contact, and join us with the VIPs.